Hi, Pat. So, just a quick video on the last lesson we did there. So, we were talking about the chord forms, right? So, and I was saying, obviously, you've got the kind of what people usually call the three chord trick, which is chord of generally what they're talking about there is 1 to 4 to 5. So, for example, in the key of C major, then that's going to be C to F to G. Because you got C, then if you go up in the scale, now we don't need to know how to play the scale, we just need to know what it is. So C, D, E, F, 1, 2, 3, 4. Chord of 4, 4, 5, F to G. There it is. But obviously, there are 7 chords, 7 natural chords. Obviously you can put whatever chords you like together, but naturally occurring chords in a certain key are guaranteed to sound, not necessarily great together, but they're definitely going to sound coherent together. So in the key of C, and this pattern is the same no matter what key you're in, right? So you've got that sheet there as well, let's go with it too. So the chord just above that, right? So C, a tone up to D, it's a tone up and it's a minor, so that's D minor is next. So that's chord of 2. Then chord of 3 is another tone up from that, so 2 frets up, 2 semitones, E, and it's also a minor, so E minor is next. Next chord up is a semitone up from that. Chord of 4, as we just said, and it's a major, so that's F major. Chord of 5 is another tone up from that. It's a G, on that one already, and it's a major, so that's G major. Now, chord of 6 is another tone up from that, and it's a minor, and it's also the relative minor. So in other words, basically, if you're in the key of C major, you're also in the key of A minor. That's mild oversimplification, but for most intents and purposes, it's fine. So next chord in C is A minor. Now, the next chord up is a tone up as well. So that's, in this case, B, but it's a diminished chord. Now, again, I don't want to get into, for the kind of stuff we're going to be doing, not the most useful chord in the world. It's kind of your classic scary chord, as I said. But in other words, it's the chord that's just below, because it's the 7th, and then just above that is the 8th, which is also the note of 1, because 8, as soon as you get past 7, they start repeating themselves. So you see the way we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So 8 is chord of 8 is chord of 1. So chord of 7 then is just below the root chord. So there's C. You go 1 below that, there's that 7th chord, and that's going to be the diminished one. Now, a quick alternative to that would be to just go. Now that's a much more, I suppose, pleasing sound. You've got that 7th note there. It's 1 below the tonic, the root chord, but it doesn't sound, like that, right? So if you want chord of 7 in the key of C, just bring middle finger up a string, take that one away, and there you go. So it's always the same pattern. Let's say if we do key of D. Next one above that is 2 semitones up, and it's a minor, so next chord is E minor. Next one is another 2 semitones up, another minor, that's F sharp minor, there's chord of 3. Semitone up, major, next chord of 4 is G. Another tone up, and it's major again, chord of 5, that's A major. Another tone up, B, this is a minor, the relative minor, so B minor. Another tone up, and it's a diminished. There's your C sharp diminished there, and then by the time we get back up here to chord of 8, we're back where we started at chord of 1, D. So you see what I mean? It's always that same pattern of up by 2, minor, up by another 2, minor, up by 1, major, up by another 2, major, up by another 2, minor, up by another 2, diminished, and up by another 1 again, and you're back to where you started at chord of 8, which is chord of 1. Okay, so just a couple of other things about that. With going back, just to keeping it simple, the 1 to 4 to 5, the kind of the 3 chord trick thing. So if we're doing it in C, F, G, and C. If you want to spice things up a little bit and add a couple of 7th chords in there. So I know you know a couple of 7 chords already. So but there's different types of seventh chords, which we'll get into in a little while. But for now, I'll just tell you that if you want 7 chords on those 4 and 5 ones, you want a major 7 on the 4th. So let's say we're going from C, we move to the chord of 4, which is F, F major 7. That's just when, instead of holding this 6th string down, or 1st string I should say, down on the 1st fret, you leave it open, but the rest of the chord stays the same. Then the G, you wouldn't have G major 7 there, you would just have G7, or G dominant 7 as a lot of people call it. So there's C, F major 7, chord of 4, major 7, chord of 5, G, G7, not major 7. Another example of that would be D. Let's say that's chord of 1. We're in the key of D major now. So chord of 1, D. Chord of 4, major 7. G major 7 there. And then A, not A major 7. See the way it just kind of doesn't sound right when it's in that context there. You would go for A7, open G string. So there's D, D major, chord of 1, G major 7. I prefer doing it this way. I'll show you later. And then A7. So it's all about just kind of putting this picture together. We're in early stages of it yet now, so it might all look a little bit kind of, confusing at first, but once we kind of keep going over it and over it, and you just take the little bits out of it that are useful to you. For example, 7th chord being diminished. If you're into the kind of country stuff, that's not going to be something you need to worry about there. We'll just think of a couple of alternatives for it that sound more appropriate to the genre. So that's plenty to be getting on with for this week. I'll leave you to it, and see you next time.